Okay, I'm Mike Jensen, retired firefighter from Washington State and Michigan and all over the place, and here with Gabe Dominguez with the Houston Fire Department. And Gabe, introduce yourself, if you would.
So I'm Gabe Dominguez, captain with the Houston Fire Department at Fire Station 50 on the A shift. I also sit on the E-board for the Houston Professional Firefighter Association Local 341 and also on the board of directors for the Texas Firefighter Home.
And we'll talk more about the Texas Firefighter Home down the road. But today I wanted to give you an introduction to what we're thinking about for a national podcast. We're looking at podcasts that would deal with unanswered Maydays. And we'll talk a little bit about what we think there. But basically, in the fire service culture, there's at least three different events that are happening with firefighters, with brothers and sisters across the country, where they're screaming Mayday and our culture doesn't connect with them. We all know what a Mayday is on the fire ground. Everything stops. We put all the resources available to save lives. Well, lives are endangered in three different areas. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But from my perspective, we start with mental health. And then when brothers and sisters are dealing with mental health issues, especially when they're off the job, whether they're volunteer or full-time firefighter, we tend not to know how to work with them, how to deal with them, if we can even reach out and contact them. The second Mayday is cancer. And we're doing a pretty good job, I think, across the nation on the prevention side, on the education about some of the ways that we can reduce our cancer risk. But as you'll learn from us, unfortunately, that's the easy part.
And you're right, Mike, as well as developing the best practices, right? We train for our decon after the fire. So we've done a great job on education and training and developing best practices.
But the hard part becomes after the diagnosis. So after you get that kick in the gut of knowing that you've got that cancer diagnosis and beginning that cancer journey can be really devastating. And what I've found, not only in my volunteer roles, but then in my professional role as a professor, is that nobody knows how to talk to me. Everyone's thinking that I'm already dead, or they don't know what they can say, or don't want to say the wrong thing. Or, in my case, with some of my colleagues back in Washington with the Cooperative Extension Service, they try to take the resources that I've gathered because they know that I'm going to be out of the picture. So we just don't know how to deal with folks once they get the cancer diagnosis. And then once people go into treatment, once brothers and sisters go into treatment, do you go visit? Do you not go visit? How do you communicate with them? How do we support them and their families as they start down that cancer journey? And there's a number of resources that are out there, and one that we'll talk about in future episodes is the Texas Firefighter Home. And it's a cause that's dear to my heart, and I know it's dear to Gabe's heart. But basically, currently 6 apartments that are in Houston, Texas, that are gifted to any first responder, whether you're a firefighter, EMS, law enforcement, who themselves or their family members find themselves needing to be in the Houston area for any kind of treatment, not just cancer treatment. But the apartments are gifted basically to the families. We pay a cleaning fee, but the apartments are gifted, and it's a partnership between the Houston Rotary and the Houston Fire Department and the Fire Department Union. Do you want to give a little bit more info?
Absolutely, Mike. I'm going to give some history about the Texas Firefighter Home. So we started back in 2014 out of the Jones home, the Jones Rotary home, which is right across the street from MD Anderson. We started with a hotel room, then grew to a second hotel room there at the hotel, and we were staying pretty full. So we then decided to start looking for apartments. We ended up running into an apartment complex called the Mayor Neal Apartments, which is about 0.7 miles from MD Anderson. So these apartments were able to provide short-term housing for firefighters, EMS personnel, police officers, anyone that's a first responder, and as well as their immediate family. So they're able to stay at these apartments up to 90 days. The only cost they have is a one-time cleaning fee of $150. These apartments are one-bedroom apartments, fully furnished. They also have a washer and dryer, covered parking. And like we said, it's real close to MD Anderson. You can Uber or use a Lyft to get there. They're fully furnished. And what we hear every single time is that those apartments become everybody's second home, that it makes them feel homely. So it was a good thing that we're able to move from the hotel setting to the apartment, because that's what we're trying to do for our first responders.
And I can tell you from personal experience that having access to the Texas Firefighter Home is a life-changing event, and allows both me and my wife have had cancer treatment at MD Anderson. And if it wasn't for Angel Gabriel helping with this and the work that he does, and if you're interested in helping the Houston Rotary and Houston Fire Department with the Texas Firefighter Home, you can follow a link that will be on this to make a donation. So just so you know, if you're inspired by this, any donation is helpful. But if you really want to help, an apartment cost for a year is about $20,000. And so if you or your fire department or your local Rotary Club or other organization have the means, you can make a big difference in the lives of firefighters through the Texas Firefighter Home.
Yes, and we also have our yearly fundraiser of the Texas Firefighter Home Gala. It's September 13th. It starts around 6 p.m. It's going to be at the Houston Firefighters Pension Relief Fund here in Houston, Texas. And what you can also do, if you cannot attend, you can sponsor a table, and we will sit first responders at that table. We're going to have a keynote speaker this year by the name of Amy Mullen. She's from the Denver area. She was back here in Houston in 2014 for her husband and his cancer journey.
Yeah, so y'all come. Y'all come to Texas and be part of the gala. So it's a dress-up, big-hair gala, just like they do in the South. So come on down. The third unanswered Mayday is retirement. When brothers and sisters retire and they lose that connection with the active fire service, they tend not to live as long if they don't have something to keep them active and connected. So that's the third unanswered Mayday that we see out there. So throughout this podcast series, we're hoping to explore that and some of the other critical issues that deal with firefighter culture, not only here in Houston, but across the country. And we're in the process of trying to create certificates. We'll have a series of classes that are connected, and you can get a certificate for viewing those and taking a small quiz. I'm a professor during my day job, so I'm required to give people quizzes. But through Washington State University, we're looking at a merit-based certificate that you might be able to use for either CEUs or for college credit down the road. So trying to make it easy for you and hopefully fun and meaningful for the fire service in thinking about all those unanswered Maydays that are out there, so we can help those who are serving with us or for us or have served, and help to respond to those screams for Mayday.